Happy Monday morning, Rock Hill. Pastor Kyle here with the Sunday morning recap of yesterday's sermon. We looked at the end of Romans 9 and the first part of Romans 10. And the real question that we asked was, why is it that the Jews who were pursuing righteousness missed out on it, but the Gentiles who weren't even pursuing any kind of godliness or righteousness found it? And what Paul says is the problem is that the Jews misunderstood the law. Rather than seeing it as a way of life for God's people, they turned it into a way to earn life. And so we've talked about what's the role of God's commandments and God's laws in the life of a believer. Are they to earn life? No, that's religion and that's anti-gospel. But neither is God indifferent about our obedience. That would be antinomianism, or that would be license. And so the gospel way is actually a narrow path in between the two, a completely different way, as it were. We don't fall into the trap of legalism, but neither do we fall into the trap of it doesn't matter whether we obey. But what we see is, having been saved by God's grace, the law is no longer a way to earn life. It never was. But it is a way of life for the people of God, to truly experience the blessing of God, to reflect the character of God, and to live in such a way where the watching world learns about the character of God by observing our lives. This is something that Israel completely missed out on. This is something that matters for those who have not yet heard about Jesus, is that we live under the rule and the reign of God. We obey the commands of God because they come from a good and kind Father who wants us to have life abundant and live life to the fullest. And so when we see the commands of God, often it reveals our heart toward Him. Do we see Him as a dictator who is just kind of mandating things and making compliance and obedience happen? Do we see Him as just kind of this pushover who doesn't really care at all? Or do we see Him as a loving Father who wants good things for His kids? So the law of God is not a way to earn life, but it is a way of life for God's people. It helps us to recognize Jesus. It helps us to know God's character. And it reminds us over and over and over again our need for Jesus and our need for a Savior. So if you like more, I'd encourage you to go back and listen to it. It's posted online as we think through how obedience factors into the life of a believer. Love you guys. Hope you have a great week.